The search for these two killers continues to take a number of different twists and turns. Hundreds of boots still on the ground here in northern New York, and take a look, roadblocks still up and very active tonight. Yes, a wanted killer remains at large here in the North Country, and of course, folks all across this region want to see him captured. A major turn in the hunt for the two escaped killers who broke out of the Clinton Correctional Facility. Breaking news just into our news desk here. New York State law enforcement officials tell CBS News on the record that Matt is in fact dead. We are following this story, crews en route to the scene, and we will bring you the very latest as we get it. And these two escaped criminals have had really much of the North Country on edge for weeks now. Many feared for their own safety. We heard a lot about folks really being armed and ready in case either of these men made it to their property. Describe for me, if you would, kind of the reaction out there tonight. State police told us earlier this week at one point they were actually searching a span of property about 75 square miles for folks at home, roughly the distance from Burlington to Rutland. With Richard Matt dead, the focus of this manhunt is now squarely on finding David Sweat. Alex Apple picks up that part of our team coverage from Chasm Falls. Alex. Folks here in town tell me they are particularly thankful for all of the authorities who worked this case and that they were able to catch Sweat before he had the opportunity to potentially cross this border directly into Canada. We are expecting a press conference any minute now with the governor of New York. Of course, he said when these inmates escaped just about 3 weeks ago that this would be a priority in the state of New York. We have seen 1,100 armed officers from New York, the state of Vermont, federal authorities all working this case. And now Governor Cuomo stepping up to the microphone. We will go to him live. You were just listening in there on a live press conference with New York Governor Andrew Cuomo taking the microphone right away in this search for David Sweat and the death of Richard Matt. He thanked folks right off the bat, a number of federal, state officials who helped in the search for these individuals and for the eventual death of Richard Matt. He also shared a number of details on how this all unfolded this afternoon. The governor said it was actually a civilian complaint about a gunshot that led investigators to the area in Malone. They say it was actually Border and Customs Patrol officers who were actually helicoptered into the region. They learned of a camper in the area that had been shot. They then were able to determine that that bullet was potentially fired from about an 8-mile radius or so. At that point, crews really zeroed in on this area. The governor says they went inside this cabin. It's where they found additional clues that Richard Matt had in fact been inside that home. They canvassed the area outside. A short distance later is when they confronted the escaped killer in the woods. The governor says, and New York State Police say, that it was at that point that authorities confronted Richard Matt. He was in fact armed, and when he did not put that gun down is when he was shot. We have team coverage on this story tonight. Alex Apple is live in Malone, about 17 miles away from the state police barracks. Alex, what can you tell us? All right, Alex, again, to recap, Richard Matt found by authorities off State Route 30 in Malone this afternoon. When confronted by authorities, he did not put down a gun. Authorities tell us he was carrying a 20-gauge shotgun. When he did not put that gun down is when he was fired upon by Border and Customs Patrol officers. State police in New York saying, of course, this hunt is not over. They've had more than 2,400 leads in this situation, and now their focus on David Sweat. Where could he be? State police urging individuals to really stay alert. Any tips that they see to bring them to their attention as soon as possible. The superintendent there from the New York State Police said loudly and clearly his team and hundreds of officers will work this case until it comes to a conclusion. It's also worth pointing out when the governor and the superintendent thanked these law enforcement officers for their effort, there was a very audible applause from the crowd. It's our understanding that a number of folks living nearby in that area actually came out to thank these individuals for their effort in this search, applauded by the locals there. But again, to recap what we've learned tonight, Richard Matt is in fact dead, shot and killed after he refused to put down a shotgun. He was shot by Border Patrol officers who were helicoptered into the region after a tip about gunfire in the area. The search now is still on for David Sweat, who is
on the run. Authorities say they will be looking 24 hours a day until they find them. We have a number of crews on scene across the region tonight. Alex Apple is out there, Rose Spillman, Shelby Cashman is on scene as well. And as soon as we learn new information, we will bring it to you. We hope that you will stick with us on WCAX.com. Our web team is updating folks on the website as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Just about 8:59 Friday night, we plan to be back with another live update at 10 o'clock. But for now, this has been a Channel 3 News special report.
The view from Mike Quinlan's home Tuesday was unlike anything he's ever seen.
This is our vacation home for the last 40, 50 years, and, you know, this is the most action we've ever seen down here.
Hundreds of armed officers from New York and Vermont flooded his Mountain View neighborhood, combing the woods for wanted killers Richard Matt and David Sweat.
But these woods are thick. They're full of marsh and trees.
As helicopters searched from the sky, troopers stood guard every 50 yards along Route 27 looking for the escapees who've been on the run for more than 2 weeks.
Definitely, increase in the numbers of cops coming down here. Certainly sirens and lights on now, which we haven't in the last couple days.
The current perimeter is defined by DNA evidence tied to the two killers found inside an Owl's Head cabin over the weekend.
It's very quiet up there normally, so this is not, this is crazy. It's scary. It's very scary. Our kids can't go outside and play. It's, they're just getting done school. We've got to keep everybody in. It's horrible.
Authorities also canvassed parts of Malone Tuesday, later confirming that they had found no sign of Matt and Sweat there, but that they're still actively looking for the pair in Owl's Head and Mountain View. For Quinlan, it means actively looking out for his home and family until the pair is caught.
First time we've actually had to make sure we've locked buildings at night and car keys put away and everything else.
A wanted killer remains at large here in the North Country, and of course, folks all across this region want to see him captured, but perhaps no one more so than a Malone man who says authorities are repeatedly mistaking him for David Sweat. Imagine being confused for a wanted killer.
Apparently, I have a striking resemblance to one of the escaped convicts, apparently, I guess.
Joshua Lamety lives in Malone and says he's been stopped and questioned by police multiple times since David Sweat broke out of the Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora 3 weeks ago.
Well, we just wanted to make sure you weren't an escaped convict, they said.
Lamety says it was a tip of a possible sighting of Sweat that first sent authorities his way.
I was actually a little worried. I even used some explicit language with one of the police officers. Holy crap, not in those words. You guys scared the out of me. This is the second time it's happened to me. What am I to think?
He says when stopped, he was questioned by officers and asked for his ID.
But it's quite understandable with the heightened sense of things around here, the alertness of the police.
The case of mistaken identity came as New York Governor Andrew Cuomo was reminding the public about the 35-year-old's violent past. He was originally behind bars for his role in killing a law enforcement officer.
Mr. Sweat and his accomplices hit the sheriff's deputy with the car, got out and shot him 22 times and then ran over him.
Lamety is showing his support for the roughly 1,100 officers charged with helping to find the two killers. He was pleased to learn Friday that Richard Matt was no longer on the loose after he was shot and killed by a Border Patrol team. He just wished they had gotten to David Sweat first.
Unfortunately, it wasn't the one I hoped they would have caught, considering I keep getting blamed for Sweat.
Obviously, the tip in this situation did not pan out. However, authorities don't want it to deter folks from coming forward if they think they might have some information connected to this case. So far, over the course of the last 3 weeks, they tell us they have responded to thousands of tips. Adam?
Keith, you also found a story about a pretty special graduation in town.
Absolutely did. Today was graduation day at Franklin Academy, and for one family, all of this commotion and all of this activity really had them thinking that celebrating their big day together may in fact be in jeopardy. It was news high school senior Brittany Olson and her family dreaded graduation morning.
Everyone has to stay inside. You're on lockdown. We can't even escort you there.
The Olsons live in the heart of the search zone for escaped inmate David Sweat in Malone. They say state police told them they wouldn't be able to get picked up by friends for her ceremony at Franklin Academy.
Called the state police myself to see if there was still lockdown. They said yes, and I said, well, my daughter graduates. Can we make it down there? And they said no, everybody has to stay in their house. We have a murderer on the loose. We're looking for them, and there's no way you can go.
Brittany says she was persistent and eventually got the green light from authorities to grab her cap and gown and go. But she says leaving the house was tough.
I was really, really scared and everything, you know, but I felt like we would be okay because there's so many police around and they're doing all they can.
I didn't think we were going to make it, but right at the tail end of the ceremony, we pulled in and we caught it.
We arrived when everything was done, but the principal and I believe the superintendent were still up on the podium and announced to everyone that we did make it, and they called their names and had them go up and get their diplomas, my husband and my daughter.
That's right, Dad, too. In addition to Brittany getting her diploma, her father was also invited to be with his daughter to get his own degree. Decades after military service in Vietnam and Germany sent his life in a different direction.
I'm elated. I'm totally happy, and it's like a dream come true.
I was able to shake everyone's hand, and when I came here, they already did all the names and stuff. But I'm just happy that I'm here.
Happy despite the fact that she missed most of the pomp and circumstance. She got to celebrate with the people she loves most.
Just the fact that they're here, my parents and my cousin, I'm really, really happy about that.
The Olsons had really hoped to celebrate with a family and community party this afternoon, but take a look. These roadblocks, they have been very active all day, and it's things just like this that they spoke about that really made that, not a possibility for them. They are hoping to reschedule these festivities when things die down here in the North Country. As far as all this activity goes that you see here, my colleague Rose Spillman has been out here all day since early this morning. She has been collecting interviews, video, all sorts of new information, and she will share that with folks tonight on the Channel 3 News at 11. Adam?